So yeah, this meeting is a little bit special because we're going to be talking about Deepnote Teams, which means that I won't actually do much coding. I probably won't do any coding. I'll just show you what a Deepnote team is like, how to create one. And that will really be all we'll be talking about this time. That being said, if you have any questions, regardless of whether they're about Deepnote Teams or not, again, unmute yourself or write in the chat and I'll try to answer those as well. Otherwise, I'll just continue and just talk about Deepnote Teams. And the reason I'm talking about it is because we had this big, update 3 days ago, which we finally made Teams free. The fact that Teams are free, it basically means that now you can create a team, invite 2 or 3 other people on your team, work together for free, and you no longer need to pay to create what's called a team. And some of you don't know what a team is, and that's because they weren't free until now and you had to pay to create one. So I'll show you how to create one. I'll show you what it looks like. And now we can actually kind of get on the same language and you'll know what I'm talking about and why it's kind of so, why we're so excited about this and why we're posting about this on Twitter and LinkedIn and everywhere. So you might have seen this already. Okay. Right. So let's get started. I'll be talking about what's a team, why you should create one, why it's, why it could benefit you, and what are kind of the use cases that you should use it for. In terms of what a team is, here we just need to go to the Deepnote dashboard, and it's really kind of dead simple, right? So I'm here in my dashboard. I might have more teams than you just because I kind of create different demos for different people. I have the Deepnote team that I'm part of and some other teams. But if you wanted to create a team, you could just do it via sorry, one sec, let me change you could just do it via the dashboard. So you would go to create new team right here. And then if you're an educator, if you want to, if you have a community that you think could benefit from this team, then select one of these plans. We're not going to go for these right now. What we're going to do is we're going to create this free team that didn't exist until now. Before, you only had these kind of options, which were $12 per editor, $99 per editor. These are meant for companies that are kind of trying to establish this across the company. If you're just trying this out, either in your company or alone with friends or whatever, just pick the free team right here. Give your team a name. I'm going to call it, let's see if this name is available. I'm going to call it the example team. And I am just going to click continue. And here I can invite people. In this case, I'll invite Elizabeth. I'll add her as a member. You don't have to do this. You can just proceed without doing this, and I'll create the team. Elizabeth, maybe I should have given you some warning. If you could just accept the invite eventually, it's no rush, but if you could just do that, it would help with the demo later on. And meanwhile, I'll just get started. And now we're going to see my example team space. Here is my example team. Here are the projects. And you can create as many as you want, right? So I could go and create another one. You can treat it just like your personal space. Your personal space has all these projects. In this case, my example team has all these projects right here. In this case, we have some kind of starter project. This is kind of the starter project that you get in your personal team. But I'm assuming that you know Deepnote, you know how to work with the notebooks. So we can actually go ahead and kind of create our own project right now. And what this will do, and I won't, like I said, I won't do too much coding because the content of the project is not that relevant right now. I'll just call it some team project right here. And you can see I just have this team space that Liz and all the other members on my team have access to. So here's Liz, she's accepted my invite, she's a member here. Here I am, I'm the owner of the team, and I can invite members, I can invite as many viewers as I want, so unlimited viewers who can view these projects, and I can kind of give them different permissions. And we can go into the different permissions, but basically I would give a member permission to people who should be able to create projects and delete projects, and I would give viewer permission to people who might just want to look at the analytics and the results that I produce. Great. So, by the way, while I started talking, I noticed some new people showed up maybe a minute or two ago. So, like I said, I'm just going to be talking about Deepnote Teams mainly. If you have other questions, just unmute yourself or hop on the chat and shoot a message. I see that. I see that we're okay. Yeah, we're at 6 people, so it's fine. Um, right. So that's all it is. That's what a team is. It's really nothing special, right? It's just a way for you to have a shared workspace with other members and for you to work together. Um, but the reason we're kind of making a big deal out of this is that before, whereas you would need to kind of take your personal projects and you would need to manually share one by one and add collaborators, and you would have kind of this shared with me space where you would kind of collaborate on the same projects. Now you can kind of have this kind of hub for your team, and you can work together and do everything from your own team space, and you can do all this for free. Why is it for free? Well, we at Deepnote, we believe that if we make the product good enough and you love it enough, you'll go on and you'll start using it in your company that you work at, or in the company that you found, or a startup that you found. So we think that if we give you, the tools to do stuff for free, hopefully you fall in love with the product and you end up, paying for it one day through our enterprise plans, for example. So that's really the strategy. There's no catch. There's no hidden agenda here. It's in our interest to provide these tools for free. Right. So that's what a team is. Now, why should you create a team? What are the benefits of creating a team compared to just sharing individual projects? Well, the first one is you kind of get to share compute time. You get to share, maybe that's the second point. You get to share resources. So by shared resources, I guess the best way to show you is if I go to settings here and we go to billing and usage, you can see I already have 15 hours of monthly free compute time. And that's because Elizabeth joined, I'm on the team. So together we have 750 hours each. So we get to share 1,500 hours of compute time, which is great. If Liz is, let's say, a sales engineer, she doesn't use a lot of compute. She doesn't need to run too much stuff. She's actually mainly kind of doing some simple SQL queries, whereas I'm a data scientist who's doing some more intense machine learning work. And therefore I get to use, let's say, 1,200 hours, and she only uses 300 hours per month. Great. I briefly saw somebody unmute themselves and say something. Is there any question from anybody? Okay, no worries. I see you went back to mute, so that's fine. All right.
There's a question in the chat, Ito.
Okay.
From
how many? So you can create unlimited free teams for now, and we're still talking about whether we're going to limit it, to be honest. But for now, you should be able to create as many free teams as you want. And I encourage you, if that's something that's kind of applicable to you, try it out. If you have a community, for example, that needs different teams, especially, then contact us, or even try a community plan. And for now, we're not clamping down on this, and I'm not sure we're planning to do this anytime soon, but you'll get an update with some warning, I guess, before we start doing that. But for now, create as many teams as you want and then check it out. We're relatively relaxed about it for now. Right. So that's one example of shared resources, right? Shared compute time. Let's talk about other shared resources. One is integrations. Now, I know from talking to some of you that you're using these integrations, but in case some of you don't know them, an integration means that when I, let's say, create some team project, then I can add, a PostgreSQL integration. So I can integrate with a PostgreSQL database. In this case, I will, add some details to some public database just so we can have some example here. So I'm going to add the host name. I'm going to add the database. Put the password and the username. We're going to quickly test the connection, make sure everything works. The connection fast. So now we'll just give it a name, this is a team after all, our SQL integration. And we're going to create it. And we're going to connect it. This might restart the machine, but now we have an integration with SQL. And immediately you can see we can create SQL cells and we can do kind of native SQL queries. Now, I'm not going to go into this unless you have questions, and I'm happy to answer them. But what I want to show you is why And let me maybe, sorry, I have so many kind of windows open here. Um, Now I'm not going to show you kind of the SQL stuff here. What I want to show you is why this is kind of helpful for you. Now we have this SQL database in this project, which is some team project. But now if I went back to the example team and I create another project, and we are going to rename this another team project, then what will happen now is I will have access to this integration and I can just connect it and it's shared. So I have these team integrations that I can just reuse across my projects, which means I don't need to keep inputting kind of credentials over and over. I can do it once, I can kind of set it and forget about it, and then everybody can just connect to it, which means that when Liz, who's on my team, creates another project, she can go and connect her database. So that's another example of the shared resources that we're talking about. One final example is shared environments, right? So again, from speaking to one of you here, I know that you use the custom environments, but again, I'll show you how to do custom environments very quickly. Here we can do some Docker environments that you can pull from Docker Hub in order to kind of pull your custom environments. Once again, I'll show you with an example. I'll take Jupyter Minimal Notebook. So let's say in my team, I want everybody to kind of use a minimal notebook Docker image that I want them, and I want my whole team to have the same environment. So I'm just going to add it here. We don't need the pull statement. Give it a name, our team environment. And we're going to add it. Now this will take a while because it's going to be the first time that we're adding this environment. So I probably won't go through it all. But once you add this environment, what happens is, I'm going to give it maybe 5 more seconds just to see, but it usually takes close to a minute. Yeah, so I'm going to close this here. What will happen, I'll show you an example in another project, is if I go to this is an example of an education team. If I go here and I open, let's say, one of these education projects for this education team that I have, the CS 182 class that I'm teaching, let's say, if I open that, what we're going to see is I will have access to this custom environment everywhere in my team project. So I have these team environments, and from now on, I can use this environment across my projects. And again, this is great because if Liz is a sales engineer, not that Liz is not capable, but let's say she doesn't know how to create her environments, or she doesn't, I don't want her to stray from the environment that I know that I can support across our team, then I can tell her, hey, Liz, from now on, when you create your projects, just use this environment. And that way we can make sure that we're creating reproducible work and we have reproducible outputs of our results because we can all use the same packages. Right, so that's everything about shared resources. That's why you should create a team for the resources. Shared projects, you can already see that. I already showed you how you have kind of shared projects across your team space, but it's hard to emphasize enough how convenient it is to do this in a team. Whereas before, for every project, I had to manually go to my collaborators and add manually some collaborators here. So I would add Ram at example.com, and I would have to add a collaborator, and I can still do that. But if we're on a team and we're collaborating often, then all I need to do once somebody's on my team, I just need to take this URL. And I'm pretty sure you can see that, right? I'm sharing my whole window. So I think you can see me highlighting the URL in my browser. And I just need to copy that. And I can, for example, post this in our chat. And I can be comfortable in the knowledge that nobody can open it except my team members. So it provides kind of a layer of security and also a huge layer of convenience, right? I can email this link to somebody, I can post it on Slack, and we can open it and not need to worry about kind of adding each other's email every time. So it's really hard to emphasize enough just how convenient it is to work. And I can tell you that because we at Deepnote, we use Deepnote all the time as a team. And if we didn't have this linking, it would be a disaster. We would have to keep adding each other's emails and it would just be so inconvenient. So the ability to just kind of take a URL, post it, and know that anybody can go on it. And you can see Liz open the link and she's here. I guess she has the tab open twice, but she just clicked the link and she can open it. If you click it, you'll see that you need to request permission and then I need to kind of add you. to the team. Right. It's important to say, I will say this now, like you can still do the personal, share your private projects. So I can go here and go to my personal space and I can still share this with collaborators here. And this is great if, you're doing a one-off collaboration with somebody. So I don't know, Saul, if we're collaborating together and we're working kind of one project and you need me to submit, some dashboard that you need to see, I'll probably just get, invite you. I won't create a team for that because I know that we're not going to do multiple projects together. But I would say the second you're doing more than one project together, just create a free team, work together, and it's much more convenient. Right, so that's the shared projects, shared resources, and together combined the real team, and you're able to create reproducible work and also kind of have a history of all the work that you've done, so that you can finally organize this knowledge that is usually scattered all over GitHub and local files and email and Slack. Here you can consolidate it into one. Now, what do I mean by that? It's hard to show you this because, as your team matures, you'll get better at creating this. And we don't have a mature team here. This isn't really a mature team. You can see it maybe in my education team. You can see that I have these categories I created. So I categorize my team, my projects into exercises and lessons. For each of these projects, of course, I can see the history log of who worked on these projects. In this case, there's no history because it's an empty project, but you kind of get the point. We kind of had this organized knowledge of kind of the teamwork that's been done, and it's all in one kind of consolidated space so we can work together. And, again, this is one of those things, it's hard to emphasize this enough. It's, it's a huge thing. If you've ever had to work on a hackathon together, if you ever had to work in a company together as multiple data scientists, it can be a huge pain point to try to coordinate everything on GitHub or with local Jupyter notebooks. If it's all in one team space, that's kind of a game changer. That's when you can start really increasing your productivity. Right. So that's the why you should create a team. If there's no question, and again, feel free to unmute yourself or post in the chat. I'll finally just tell you when you should create a team. So why you should create a team, what a team is, it's kind of this dashboard thing. It allows you to kind of create a shared workspace. When should you do this? Well, really, it's just whenever you're going to be collaborating more often than once, let's say. Whenever you're going to be working on, let's say, more than one project, just create a team. They're free. Try them out. You have more compute space. You have more resources, but also you have this shared knowledge. So if you're at a company together, and in this case, either you're a small company or you want to try Deepnote out, create a free team, invite 2 other people on there, work on some projects and see how it works for you, right? If you're not in a company, if you're working just, as an individual or as a hobbyist on a hackathon or a competition, this can be huge, right? Especially if you're working, let's say, on multiple competitions, or if you want to share your work and you're also, you're a hobbyist who is doing some other cool stuff and you want to share with your teammates and you want to get feedback. You probably know this better than I do. These are things that are better when they're in one space. Just like you have your Google Drive folder where you can share kind of all your hackathon material in one folder. You want your team space to contain all this material into one space. And yeah, the list goes on. You could do this for side hustles. You could do this as a research or as an education team, right? So you can do this for your classroom, for research. In this case, we have our special education plan. So do try that out. And finally, if you have your own community, and you're kind of working with an ML community that you've built from scratch, or you're part of an ML community that you like, create a Deepnote team, work together. Again, we have a special community plan. So again, this thing is free, so I don't know why I don't really need to sell it to you. Just try it out. My goal is just to kind of show you what it's about so that you can actually use it properly and kind of take advantage of it. So yeah, this was a quick one. It wasn't a lot of coding. This is really kind of the demo today. What should you do now? Well, if you have any questions, we're gonna, stay on for another minute or two for any questions that you have. If you don't, then like I said, create a team, try it out, give it 20 minutes, see what it's like. Join our community. I do this. I say this every time, and some of you are joining, which is great. Keep doing it. It's starting to become not just a place where we talk to you, but a place where you talk to each other. And it's really getting better. And Liz just posted it in the chat, so do click there and just join it. And share your work. We have publishing competitions where we give you prizes. I'm not sure if there's any ongoing competition at the moment. Is there, Liz? Could you tell me in the chat if there is?
Yeah, there is. I'm just going to send out a link right away. And this month's competition is all about the progress of vaccinations across the world.
Okay, so there's a vaccination publishing competition. So if you write your notebook about something with vaccinations, and it's really anything, what's the current state of vaccinations? What is it looking like geographically? Liz just posted a link. Then, post your work, tell us about it in community. But it doesn't even need to be part of the competition, right? Just share your work, because it's usually, we're seeing more and more people doing that, and you can get feedback. And for me, it's been great because I like to work on kind of some side hobby stuff with geospatial data, for example. And it's great to have actually people that actually care about the things that I'm making, instead of just, putting them in a GitHub repo and never doing it again. Do teams have their own profile page? They do indeed. I'm not sure, Liz, do you know exactly how I can show this here? Because I've never actually used the profile pages, but they do exist.
Yeah.
I don't know if yeah, Liz.
You publish and part of a team. So if you now click on any sample project and publish it,
okay,
it will get published as a part of a public profile. So if you now just copy the URL, you will see that the handle says
this
rather than Ito.
Right. So if I copy this and I put that here, of course, I've published my first notebook, which is good for me. I would probably share this again in Deepnote community or in the other places that you would like. I would close this. And here, this is the published by example team. Now, I don't want to spam Deepnote with, these canned teams. So I'm going to unpublish this, but you get the point. And a good question, actually. In fact, what we're going to do eventually is, if you have a team that does cool stuff, reach out to us and we're going to try to get you in the dashboard. So just like if I go to my personal dashboard right here, here, then I'm going to get like a learning section. We're going to add kind of a section that kind of shows you cool teams and what they're up to, and cool users, not just teams, and what they're up to. And, I think it's just cool because it's a chance for you to be exposed to tens of thousands of users who are using, Deepnote, and they can see what work you're doing. So reach out to us. I don't know if we're going to do this, next week, but we're going to do this eventually because, we want to spread the word and you want to spread your work. So it's kind of a mutual benefit. What else? Yeah, so great question, and thanks for that. Finally, there's the competition, try it out. And lastly, this is very, very, tentative for now, so I don't want to promise anything, but this is the point of New and Deepnote. I can tell you about stuff that we're thinking about. We're thinking about creating community teams, right? So if Ram, for example, you say that you want to create an ML team or an object detection team through computer vision or something like that, you can reach out to us. Maybe we can hook you up with some community members, or you can post in community and create your team on your own. And maybe we can eventually make these public, so that people can, just like a Facebook group, people can request to join a team, and then we can turn these into teams of, 1,000 people working on cool object detection project. This is a very kind of high level thing. Yeah, take me up on it and reach out to me, or just post in community. But these are kind of the things that we're thinking about where the direction of teams can go. It's not just for companies who want to be extra productive. Hopefully it's also for people who just want to, have an audience for the work and have people to kind of talk about the work together. Right. So if you have any more questions, I'll stay on for another minute or two.